I should have known something was wrong when the groom's family didn't show up to the rehearsal dinner. My best friend Olivia had brushed it off, saying Alessandro's family was traditional and preferred to keep pre-wedding events separate. Red flag number 1 that I'd ignored. Red flag number 2. The venue changed 3 days before the wedding. The original location, a beautiful vineyard in Napa, was suddenly unavailable. Instead, we were now at an isolated estate in the hills, surrounded by woods and far from any main roads. "It's more intimate this way," Olivia had said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Red flag number 3, the security. Not normal wedding security, like making sure drunk Uncle Bob doesn't start a fight, but serious armed men in tactical gear positioned around the entire property. Alessandro had explained them away as protection for some high-profile guests. I'd ignored all of it because Olivia was happy. My best friend since college, the girl who'd been there through every breakup and career crisis, was finally getting married. If she said everything was fine, I believed her. That was my mistake. The wedding ceremony was beautiful in a gothic, slightly unsettling way. The estate's chapel was all dark wood and stained glass, with candles providing the only light. Alessandro stood at the altar in a black tuxedo, devastatingly handsome with his dark Italian features and commanding presence. His groomsmen, all large, dangerous-looking men, flanked him like soldiers rather than friends. Olivia looked stunning in her white gown, but I noticed how her hands shook as she walked down the aisle. How she wouldn't meet her mother's eyes. How the smile she gave Alessandro seemed forced. Something was very wrong. The ceremony proceeded normally enough. Vows were exchanged, rings presented, the priest pronounced them husband and wife. But when Alessandro kissed Olivia, it looked less like passion and more like possession. Then came the reception. The ballroom was elegant, crystal chandeliers, expensive floral arrangements, a band playing soft Italian music, but the guests were wrong. Alessandro's side of the room was filled with men who looked more like an organized crime convention than a wedding party. Expensive suits couldn't hide the violence in their eyes, the way they constantly scanned for threats, the bulges at their hips that suggested weapons. I cornered Olivia during the cocktail hour. "Liv, what's going on? Who are these people?" "Alessandro's family." She wouldn't look at me, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. "Your husband's family looks like the cast of The Godfather." "What aren't you telling me?" "Nothing. Everything's fine." But her eyes filled with tears. "Maya, please, just stay close to me today, okay? Don't wander off. Don't talk to anyone from Alessandro's side. Promise me, Olivia, promise me." Her grip on my arm was painful. "Please, just trust me on this," I promised, fear coiling in my stomach. What had my best friend gotten herself into? Dinner was served. A 5-course Italian feast that probably cost more than my rent. I sat at the bridal party table, picking at my food, watching Alessandro's hand possessively rest on Olivia's thigh throughout the meal. Watching how she flinched every time he touched her. "You're the best friend, yes?" A voice beside me made me jump. One of Alessandro's groomsmen had moved to the empty seat on my left. He was older than the others, maybe mid-40s, with silver threading through his dark hair and a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. Maya Chen, art gallery curator. 28 years old, single. How do you know all that? My heart was racing. We know everything about everyone close to the bride. Security measure. He smiled, but it didn't reach his cold eyes. "I'm Marco. I've known Alessandro since he was a boy. He's like a nephew to me. That's nice." I shifted in my seat, trying to put distance between us. "Tell me, Maya, has Olivia seemed happy these past few months? Excited about the wedding?" "Of course she has, because from where I sit, she looks terrified. Like she's marrying someone under duress." His eyes fixed on mine. "Would you agree?" This was a trap. I didn't know how, but every instinct screamed not to answer honestly. Every bride has pre-wedding jitters. Olivia's fine. Lying doesn't suit you. Marco leaned closer, and I smelled expensive cologne mixed with something darker. Gunpowder. "But your loyalty to your friend is admirable." "That's good. Loyalty is important in our world." "Your world? You really don't know, do you?" He laughed quietly. "Alessandro Russo, the Russo family. Your best friend just married into one of the most powerful crime families on the East Coast." The blood drained from my face. "You're joking." "I never joke about family business. And as of today, Olivia is family. which means she lives by our rules, under our protection, with no way out. He stood, straightening his jacket. Enjoy the reception, Maya. It's the last normal thing you'll experience for a while. He walked away before I could respond, leaving me shaking in my chair. Crime family, Mafia. Olivia had married into the fucking Mafia. I needed to talk to her, needed to understand what was happening. But when I looked for her, I saw Alessandro leading her toward a private room off the ballroom, his hand tight on her arm, her face pale. I stood to follow, but a hand on my shoulder stopped me. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Another groomsman, younger, with dark eyes and a dangerous smile. The groom and bride need private time. You understand? Let me go. Sit down, Miss Chen. Enjoy your dessert. Everything's fine, but everything wasn't fine. Nothing about this was fine. The reception continued for another hour, toasts and cake cutting and the first dance. Olivia went through all the motions with a fixed smile, but her eyes were dead. Alessandro kept her close, his touch always on her, her waist, her hand, her shoulder, like he was staking his claim in front of everyone. This wasn't a wedding. It was a business transaction, and Olivia was the merchandise. Around 11 p.m., guests started leaving. The bridal party was supposed to stay for an after-party in one of the estate's lounges, but I was looking for any excuse to escape. I grabbed my clutch and headed toward the exit, planning to call an Uber from the long driveway. I made it about 50 feet from the building before two large men materialized from the shadows, blocking my path. Going somewhere, Miss Chen? One of them smiled, but it was predatory. I'm leaving. The reception's over. Not quite. Mr. Russo has requested your presence. He gestured back toward the estate. This way, please. I don't want to. It wasn't a request. His hand wrapped around my upper arm, not painfully, but with undeniable strength. Walk nicely or we carry you. Your choice. Panic surged through me. You can't kidnap me. I'll scream. No one will hear you. And even if they did, no one will help you. This entire estate belongs to the Russo family. Everyone here works for us. He started pulling me back toward the building. Now move. They marched me through hallways I hadn't seen before, deeper into the estate, until we reached a study with dark wood paneling and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Alessandro sat behind a massive desk, his tuxedo jacket discarded, his tie loosened, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Olivia was nowhere to be seen. Miss Chen, thank you for joining me. He gestured to a chair across from him. Sit. Where's Olivia? What have you done with her? My wife is upstairs preparing for our wedding night. She's fine. This conversation is between you and me. He took a sip of whiskey. Do you know why you're here? Because your thugs dragged me? Because you're a complication. A loose end that needs to be addressed. He set down his glass, his dark eyes assessing me. You see, Olivia didn't exactly marry me willingly. Her father owes my family a considerable debt. $17 million to be precise. This marriage was the price of that debt being forgiven. My stomach dropped. You forced her to marry you? I gave her father a choice. Give me his daughter, or watch his entire family be destroyed. He chose wisely. Alessandro leaned back in his chair. Olivia understands her role now. She'll be a good wife, produce heirs, and live a comfortable life as long as she doesn't cause problems. You're insane. She'll never accept this. She already has. The moment she said I do, she sealed her fate. There's no escape from a Russo marriage. Death is the only way out, and I take excellent care of what's mine. His expression was cold, matter of fact. But you, Maya, you're a problem. You're her best friend, her confidant. She'll try to reach out to you, to tell you things she shouldn't. That makes you a liability. Fear clawed at my throat. So what? You're going to kill me to keep your marriage secrets? Killing you would upset Olivia, which would make my life difficult. So I'm considering alternatives. He stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. Option 1. You sign a comprehensive NDA, accept a generous payment for your silence, and never contact Olivia again. You disappear from her life completely. I'd never abandon her. Option 2. He continued as if I hadn't spoken. We keep you close. Under supervision. Watched constantly to ensure you don't do anything foolish like go to authorities or try to rescue my wife. That's kidnapping. It's protective custody, for everyone's safety. He stopped in front of me. But there's a problem with both options. Can you guess what it is? I stared up at him, hatred burning in my chest. That you're a psychopath who thinks he can control people? That I wasn't supposed to grab you. I was supposed to grab someone else entirely. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo. This woman. Gabriella Russo, my cousin's daughter. She was supposed to attend the wedding, was supposed to be part of the bridal party. We had plans for her, insurance against her father's questionable loyalty. I don't understand. My men were given orders to quietly detain a member of the bridal party, a young woman, late 20s, dark hair, wearing a specific dress color. They grabbed you instead of her. He pocketed his phone. Congratulations, Maya. You're the wrong woman, caught up in something that has nothing to do with you. Then let me go. I can't. Because even though you're the wrong woman, you're actually more useful than the right one. His smile was cold. Gabriella is family. Taking her would have caused complications, political issues within the organization. But you're a civilian. No one important will come looking for you, and you have the perfect leverage, Olivia's complete devotion. The truth hit me like ice water. You're going to use me to control her. Exactly. As long as you're safe and under my supervision, Olivia will behave. She won't try to run, won't go to authorities, won't do anything that might put her precious best friend at risk. He pulled out his phone again, typing something. It's actually better this way. A fortuitous mistake that solves multiple problems. You can't do this. People will look for me. Who? Your family is on the West Coast. Your colleagues at the gallery believe you're taking a sabbatical. We'll send the resignation email tomorrow. Your apartment lease expires next month. We'll handle that too. By this time next week, it'll be like Maya Chen simply decided to start over somewhere new. His phone buzzed and he checked it. The room is ready. Let's get you settled. Room? What room? The door opened, and Marco entered with 2 other men. Boss, everything's prepared. The doctor's on standby in case she causes trouble. She won't. Will you, Maya? Alessandro's eyes held a warning. Because if you fight, if you scream, if you cause any problems whatsoever, it's Olivia who'll pay the price. I'll take every act of defiance out on my wife. Do you understand? I understood. I was trapped by my love for Olivia, by the knowledge that resisting meant she'd suffer. I understand, I whispered. Good girl. He nodded to Marco. Take her to the East Wing. Make sure she has everything she needs, and make it clear that escape attempts will have consequences. They grabbed my arms, and I didn't fight as they led me from the study, didn't struggle as they took me through more hallways, upstairs, to a wing of the estate I'd never seen. Didn't resist as they opened a door to what looked like a luxurious bedroom. King bed, expensive furniture, attached bathroom, with one crucial detail. Bars on the windows and a lock on the outside of the door, a gilded cage. A beautiful prison. Welcome to your new home, Marco said, not unkindly. Someone will bring you clothes and toiletries tomorrow. Meals will be delivered 3 times a day. You'll have supervised time outside when the weather's nice. It's not a terrible existence, all things considered. How long? My voice was hollow. How long are you keeping me here? That depends on Olivia. How well she adapts to married life. How compliant she becomes. Could be months. Could be years, he shrugged. Could be forever, if Mr. Russo decides you're too much of a risk to ever release. This is insane. This is business. And in our world, business requires insurance. Your insurance, Maya. The best kind because you actually matter to someone. He stepped back into the hallway. Get some rest. Tomorrow you'll meet Mr. Russo properly, and he'll explain the rules of your stay. The door closed. The lock clicked. And I stood alone in my prison, wearing a bridesmaid dress, clutching a bouquet I'd caught during the wedding. Unable to believe that attending my best friend's wedding had resulted in my own kidnapping. Wrong woman. Wrong place. Wrong time. But apparently, according to a crime boss, exactly right for his purposes, I was trapped, and Olivia was trapped. Both of us prisoners in different ways. Both of us pawns in Alessandro Russo's game, and I had no idea how either of us would ever escape. I didn't sleep. How could I, knowing I was locked in a room in a mobster's estate, being held as leverage against my best friend? Every sound made me jump. Footsteps in the hallway, doors closing, the occasional voice speaking Italian. Around dawn, I heard the lock click. I scrambled off the bed, grabbing the only potential weapon I could find, a heavy crystal vase from the dresser. The door opened, and a woman entered carrying a tray of food. She was older, maybe 60, with kind eyes and gray hair pulled into a neat bun. She took one look at me holding the vase and smiled sadly. "You won't need that, dear. I'm just bringing breakfast." Her accent was Italian, but her English was clear. "I'm Maria. I've worked for the Russo family for 30 years. I'll be taking care of you during your stay." "My stay? You mean my kidnapping?" I prefer to think of it as extended hospitality. She set the tray on a small table by the window. "Fresh fruit, pastries, coffee. Mr. Russo wants you comfortable." "Mr. Russo wants me imprisoned." I didn't put down the vase. "Where's Olivia? Is she okay?" Maria's expression grew sad. "Mrs. Russo is adjusting to married life. It's not easy for her, but she's strong. She'll survive." That's not exactly reassuring. It's the best I can offer. She moved toward the door. "There are clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. Everything you'll need for now. Mr. Russo will see you at 10. I suggest you eat and prepare yourself. He doesn't like to be kept waiting." After she left, I examined the room more thoroughly. The bars on the windows were solid steel, professionally installed. The door lock was heavy-duty, requiring a key from the outside. The attached bathroom had no windows at all, just ventilation. Whoever had designed this room had thought of everything. I picked at the breakfast. The food was excellent, which somehow made everything worse. Being held prisoner in luxury didn't make it less of a prison. At exactly 9:45, Maria returned with Marco. "Time to see the boss," he said. "Come quietly, or we do this the hard way." I went quietly, knowing resistance would only hurt Olivia. They led me through the estate. It was even more massive than I'd realized, with wings I hadn't seen during the wedding. We ended up in a different office from last night, this one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens. Alessandro sat behind another imposing desk, looking infuriatingly fresh in an expensive suit, despite what must have been very little sleep. His wedding night with my best friend. The thought made me sick. "Miss Chen. I trust you slept well." He gestured to a chair across from him. "I was kidnapped and locked in a room. How do you think I slept?" "Fair point." He pulled out a folder, opening it. "We need to discuss the terms of your stay. Pay attention, because I'll only explain this once. I don't want to hear. You'll hear it anyway. Or I'll have Marco hold you in that chair while I explain. Your choice." His tone was casual, but the threat was real. I sat, hatred burning in my chest. "Good. Now here are the rules." He pulled out a document. 1. You will not attempt to escape or contact anyone outside this estate. All communication is monitored. Any violation results in punishment for Olivia, not you. You're a monster. 2. You will cooperate with Maria and the staff. Any violence or resistance toward them will also result in punishment for Olivia. How long are you going to use her as a threat? As long as it works. He continued reading. 3. You will have supervised time in the gardens and library. Good behavior earns more freedom. Bad behavior restricts it further. This is insane. You can't just keep me here indefinitely. 4. Once per week, you'll have a video call with Olivia. Supervised, of course. This serves 2 purposes. It proves to her you're alive and well, and it reminds you both of what's at stake if either of you misbehaves. That got my attention. I can talk to Olivia? Briefly, under controlled conditions, and only if you both behave. He set down the document. I'm not a monster, Maya. I don't enjoy this situation, but my wife needs to understand the consequences of defiance, and you're the most effective leverage I have. So I'm a hostage. Your insurance. There's a difference. He leaned back in his chair. In time, if Olivia proves trustworthy, if you prove compliant, this arrangement can become less restrictive. Perhaps even comfortable, but that depends entirely on both of you. What if I refuse to cooperate? What if I fight you every day? Then you'll spend every day in that locked room with no privileges, no contact with Olivia, and the knowledge that your stubbornness is making her life hell. His dark eyes held mine. I don't want that, Maya. I'd much prefer you accept your situation and make the best of it. But the choice is yours. I wanted to throw something at him, wanted to scream and fight and do everything in my power to escape. But Olivia's terrified face haunted me, the way she'd begged me to stay close at the wedding. the fear in her eyes when Alessandro touched her. "I'll cooperate," I said through gritted teeth, but only to protect Olivia, not because I accept any of this. "Your motivations don't concern me, only your behavior." He stood, moving to the window. "You'll have your first supervised garden time this afternoon. Maria will escort you. Don't try anything foolish." "And the video call with Olivia?" "Friday. I'll arrange it personally." He turned to face me. "One more thing. My cousin Dante will be visiting the estate this week. He's curious about you. Wants to meet the woman we accidentally grabbed instead of his daughter." "Great. More mobsters to deal with." Dante is second in command of our organization. Powerful, dangerous, and not someone to antagonize. Alessandro's expression was serious. "Be respectful when you meet him. Your life might depend on it." Marco escorted me back to my room, where I spent the rest of the morning pacing like a caged animal. This was my life now, locked in luxury, used as leverage, with my best friend trapped in a forced marriage, and my own freedom completely gone. That afternoon, Maria appeared with a sundress. "For the garden. Mr. Russo thought you might want fresh air." The dress was beautiful. Pale blue, perfectly sized. Of course it was. They'd probably researched everything about me, knew my measurements, my preferences, my entire life. "I don't want his gifts." "Then wear your bridesmaid dress, but it's quite warm outside and that's much more comfortable." Maria's voice was gentle. "I know this is hard, dear, but fighting every small thing will only make you miserable." She was right, which made it worse. I changed into the sundress, hating how good it felt to wear something other than formal wear. The gardens were stunning. Acres of manicured lawns, flower beds, and walking paths. Maria walked beside me while 2 guards followed at a discreet distance. Other staff worked in the gardens, but they carefully avoided looking at me. "They know not to acknowledge you," Maria explained. "Mr. Russo's orders. You're to have privacy during your outdoor time, but never alone." "Prison rules in a beautiful setting. How thoughtful. I know you're angry. You have every right to be." Maria stopped by a fountain, gesturing for me to sit on the stone bench. "But I've seen many people held by the Russo family over the years. Those who accept their situation and find ways to cope. They survive with their sanity intact. Those who fight constantly, they break." "You're telling me to give up." "I'm telling you to be smart, to survive." Her eyes were kind but serious. "Mr. Alessandro is not the worst of the Russo men. He could be far crueler if he wished. The fact that you're in a comfortable room with privileges suggests he has some conscience. He kidnapped me, used me against my best friend, forced Olivia into marriage. That's not conscience, that's calculated cruelty." "Perhaps, but it's also the world he was raised in. The only world he knows." Maria stood. "Come, there's a library you might enjoy. Books help pass the time." The library was incredible. 2 stories of floor-to-ceiling shelves, comfortable reading chairs, even a rolling ladder. In other circumstances, I would have been thrilled. "You can come here during the day," Maria said. "The guards will always be present, but they'll stay at the door. You'll have privacy to read." I ran my fingers over the spines of countless books, classics, modern fiction, art history texts that related to my actual career. They'd stocked this library with things I'd love. He researched me thoroughly. Mr. Russo is thorough in all things. It's why he's successful. Maria moved toward the door. "I'll return in an hour to take you back to your room. Please don't do anything that would force the guards to restrain you." After she left, I stood alone in the beautiful library, surrounded by books I'd normally devour, and felt the full weight of my situation crash down. I sank into a reading chair and finally let the tears come. I cried for Olivia, trapped in a forced marriage to a monster. I cried for myself, kidnapped and held as leverage. I cried for the life I'd had 3 days ago, my gallery job, my little apartment, my normal, safe existence that was now completely gone. A sound made me look up. A man stood in the doorway, not one of the guards, but someone new. He was tall, powerfully built, with dark hair and the same dangerous aura all the Russo men seemed to carry. But his eyes were different, intelligent, assessing, with a hint of something that might have been sympathy. "You must be Maya Chen." His English was perfect, barely accented. "I'm Dante Russo, Alessandro's cousin." I wiped my eyes, trying to compose myself. "The one whose daughter I was mistaken for." "Exactly. He moved into the library with casual confidence. May I sit? It's your family's house. I assume you do whatever you want. True, but I try to maintain basic courtesy. He sat in the chair across from mine, studying me with unsettling intensity. I wanted to apologize. You're here because of a mistake my people made. A mistake that's cost you your freedom. Your apology doesn't change anything. No, it doesn't. But I want you to understand that not everyone in this family agrees with Alessandro's methods. He leaned forward. Using you to control Olivia is short-sighted. Dangerous, even. It creates resentment that will eventually cause problems. Then help me escape. Help us both escape. I can't do that. Alessandro is the boss's son, heir to the organization. I can't undermine him without starting a war within the family. His expression was regretful. But I can try to make your situation more bearable. Give you more freedom, more privileges. Perhaps even eventually argue for your release. In exchange for what? Nothing. This isn't a transaction. It's an attempt to correct an injustice. He stood. I'll be staying at the estate this week. If you need anything, books, art supplies, anything to make this easier, tell Maria. She'll bring it to me, and I'll ensure you get it. Why are you being kind? What's your angle? No angle. Just guilt. He moved toward the door. My daughter was supposed to be in your position. The fact that a stranger is suffering instead doesn't sit well with me. After he left, I sat in confusion. A Russo showing guilt, offering help. It didn't fit the monster narrative I'd built. But maybe that was the point. Maybe they weren't all monsters. Maybe some were just people trapped in the same violent world, making choices they could live with. That didn't make my situation any better. But it gave me something I hadn't had before. A potential ally in enemy territory. And if I was going to survive this, if I was going to help Olivia survive, I'd need all the allies I could get. The week passed in a strange routine. Mornings in my room, afternoons in the library or gardens, evenings alone with nothing but my thoughts. Maria brought meals and made small talk, carefully avoiding any discussion of Olivia or the Russo's business. The guards maintained their silent presence, always watching but never speaking. Dante visited the library twice more. Each time he brought something he thought I'd enjoy. A new art history book, sketching supplies, a tablet loaded with music. He never asked for anything in return, never pushed for information or compliance. Just small kindnesses that made my captivity slightly more bearable. You don't have to do this, I told him during his third visit. The gifts. I'm not going to suddenly think kidnapping is okay because you're nice to me. I know, but you shouldn't have to suffer more than necessary. He set down a box of expensive art supplies. I saw your work online. Your gallery curation is exceptional. You have a real eye for composition and color theory. You researched me too. We research everyone connected to family business, but I was genuinely impressed. You could have been successful anywhere, but you chose to champion emerging artists. That says something about your character. He gestured to the supplies. I thought you might want to create something while you're here. Art as therapy. Art as distraction from my imprisonment, you mean? That too. He smiled slightly. Maya, I know you hate us. You have every right to. But you're here indefinitely, possibly long-term. You can spend that time in misery, or you can find ways to cope. I'm trying to give you coping mechanisms. Why do you care? Because you shouldn't be here. Because this was a mistake that I'm partially responsible for. Because... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I see my daughter when I look at you. Young, innocent, caught up in family politics through no fault of your own. If she were in your position, I'd want someone showing her kindness. Your daughter was the original target. For what? The same leverage play Alessandro's using on Olivia. Dante's expression darkened. My brother made some questionable decisions. Alessandro wanted insurance against my family's cooperation. Taking Gabriella would have ensured my brother's loyalty. By terrorizing his daughter, how noble. I never said our world was noble. Just that it's the world we have. He stood to leave. Friday, you'll talk to Olivia. She's been asking about you constantly. Try to stay strong for her. She needs to know you're all right. After he left, I stared at the art supplies, torn between pride and pragmatism. Drawing would help pass time, would give me something productive to focus on besides my anger and fear. But accepting Dante's gifts felt like acceptance of my situation. Finally, pragmatism won. I opened the supplies and started sketching the view from my window. The gardens, the distant woods, the bars that kept me from freedom. Friday arrived with agonizing slowness. Maria appeared at 10 a.m. with a dress, not the sundresses I'd been given for garden time, but something nicer. For your call with Mrs. Russo, Mr. Alessandro wants you to look well cared for. So Olivia doesn't worry? So she knows you're being treated properly, yes. Maria helped me with my hair, styling it in a way that hid how tired I looked from stress and poor sleep. There now. You look lovely. Marco escorted me to a different office, smaller, more intimate, with a large computer screen set up on the desk. Alessandro stood by the window, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. He ended the call when he saw me. Miss Chen, sit. We'll connect with Olivia momentarily. He moved behind the desk, typing something. Rules for this call. No discussing escape plans, no coded messages, no saying anything that might upset my wife. This is a check-in to prove you're alive and well. Nothing more. What if I break these rules? The call ends immediately, and you don't get another one for a month. And Olivia suffers consequences. His dark eyes held no mercy. Not if you understand, I nodded, hating him with every fiber of my being. The screen flickered to life, and there she was. Olivia, wearing an expensive dress, her hair perfectly styled, sitting in what looked like a luxurious living room. She looked beautiful and hollow. Maya, her eyes filled with tears. Oh my God, Maya, are you okay? I'm fine, Liv, I promise. They're treating me well. I forced a smile. How are you? How's married life? It's good. Everything's good. But her smile was as fake as mine, her eyes showing the lie. Alessandro is very attentive. Code for controlling. Possessive. I understood what she couldn't say with him, likely watching her end of the call. I miss you, I said honestly. Miss our coffee dates and gallery visits, and I miss you too. A tear escaped, which she quickly wiped away. Maya, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. If I'd been honest with you about who Alessandro was... Don't. This isn't on you. I glanced at Alessandro, who was watching our call with calculated interest. We'll get through this, both of us. We just have to be strong. I want to see you. Alessandro says maybe in a few weeks, if we both behave, I can visit you at the estate. Her expression was desperate. Please behave, Maya. Please just do what they say. I can't... Her voice broke. I can't handle knowing you're suffering because of me. I'm not suffering. Look. I gestured to myself, to the nice room visible behind me. Comfortable accommodations, good food, even a library. It's like a very restrictive spa retreat. She laughed despite her tears, recognizing my attempt at humor. Only you could find a positive spin on being kidnapped. It's a gift. I leaned closer to the camera. Liv, I need you to promise me something. Take care of yourself. Don't do anything dangerous or reckless. We'll figure this out, but only if we both survive it, okay? Okay, I promise. She glanced off camera, and I knew Alessandro must be there. I have to go. But Maya, I love you. You're my sister in every way that matters. I love you too, always. The screen went dark. I sat staring at it, at the ghost of my best friend's terrified face, and felt rage building inside me. She looks well, Alessandro said casually, as if we just had a pleasant social call instead of a hostage check-in. Marriage agrees with her. Marriage to you is killing her spirit. I turned on him. She was vibrant and happy before you forced her into this. Now she looks like a beautiful corpse. She'll adjust. They always do. He stood, moving toward the door. You did well on the call. Stayed positive, didn't say anything to worry her. That earns you extended library privileges. You can go in the evenings now, not just afternoons. I don't want your rewards. I want my freedom. Then you'll be disappointed, because that's the one thing I can't give you. He opened the door, gesturing for Marco to take me back. Same time next Friday, assuming you continue to behave. Back in my room, I collapsed on the bed and finally let myself cry properly. Seeing Olivia like that, broken, terrified, trapped in a marriage to a monster, made everything so much worse. We were both prisoners, just in different cages. A soft knock interrupted my tears. Maria entered with lunch and a sympathetic expression. I heard the call went well. It was horrible. She's miserable and I can't help her. You help her by surviving, by staying strong. That's all any of us can do in this family. Survive the men and their wars. Maria set down the tray. Eat something. Keep your strength up. How can you work for them, knowing what they do, who they hurt? Because I have a granddaughter to support, and the Russos pay very well. Because I've seen what happens to people who refuse their offers of employment. She sat beside me. I'm not proud of it, but I'm practical. And in my own way, I try to help where I can. Like now, with you, by being kind to your boss's hostage, by being human when the men around us often forget to be. She patted my hand. Eat, then perhaps some time in the garden. The roses are blooming beautifully. That evening, I took advantage of my new library access. The guards were present, but stayed by the door as promised, giving me the illusion of privacy. I settled into my favorite chair with a book on Caravaggio's use of light and shadow, trying to lose myself in art history. Caravaggio. Interesting choice. Dante's voice made me look up. He stood in the doorway, holding 2 glasses of wine. May I join you? Do I have a choice? Always. I can leave if you prefer solitude. But he didn't move, waiting for an actual answer. Stay. I could use the distraction. I gestured to the chair across from mine. He settled in, handing me one of the wine glasses. I heard your call with Olivia went well, or as well as possible under the circumstances. You mean as well as a check-in between 2 prisoners can go? I took a sip of wine. Excellent, of course. She looked terrible, Dante. Your cousin is destroying her. Alessandro is doing what he was raised to do. Prioritize family business over everything else. Olivia is a business asset, her suffering irrelevant to the equation. His expression was troubled. I don't agree with his methods, but I understand the logic. That's a horrifying thing to understand. Welcome to my world. He took a drink. Maya, can I ask you something personal? Can I say no? Yes, actually. But I'd appreciate honesty if you're willing. I studied him. This dangerous man who'd shown me more kindness than I'd expected, who seemed genuinely troubled by my situation. Ask. If you could leave right now, completely free, no consequences for Olivia, would you go to the police? Would you testify against the family? I considered lying, but something about his direct gaze made me honest. In a heartbeat. I'd burn this entire organization down if it meant freeing Olivia and putting you all in prison where you belong. That's what I thought. But he smiled slightly. Thank you for being honest. You're not angry? Why would I be? You're a good person in a bad situation, loyal to your friend, willing to fight against injustice. Those are admirable qualities. He leaned back. I asked because I wanted to understand who you really are beneath the fear and anger. And now I know. You're exactly who I thought you were. Strong, principled, dangerous to us in the best way. Dangerous? I'm locked in your cousin's estate. Physically, yes. But your presence here is already causing ripples. Alessandro's soldiers whisper about the innocent woman being held. My own men question the ethics of using you as leverage. Even I find myself doubting tactics I've used for years. His dark eyes held mine. You're a reminder that we're not the heroes of this story, Maya. That we're the villains in yours. That's a powerful thing. If I'm so powerful, let me go. I can't. Not yet. Alessandro would see it as betrayal. And I'm not ready for that war. He set down his wine glass. But I can promise you this. I'll do everything in my power to make your captivity as brief as possible. To argue for your eventual release. To protect you from the darker elements of this family. Why? What do you gain? Maybe nothing. Maybe my daughter's gratitude that I spared someone else's daughter the pain she was supposed to endure. Maybe just the ability to look at myself in the mirror. He stood. Finish your wine. Enjoy your book. I'll see you tomorrow. After he left, I sat in the quiet library and realized my situation was more complicated than I'd thought. I'd expected to hate all the Russos equally, but Dante was different. Still criminal, still complicit, but also conflicted in a way Alessandro wasn't. It didn't make me trust him. But it made me think that maybe, just maybe, I had someone on the inside who might eventually help me escape. And if I was going to free myself and Olivia, I'd need every advantage I could get. 3 weeks into my captivity, the routine had become almost normal. Morning coffee with Maria, Afternoons in the library or garden. Evening visits from Dante where we'd discuss art and books, and carefully avoid talking about my imprisonment. He was good at that, making me forget, for brief moments, that I was a hostage. We'd debate Caravaggio's influence on Baroque painting, or discuss the merits of abstract expressionism. And I'd almost feel like a person instead of leverage. Almost. The Friday video calls with Olivia were the hardest. Each week she looked a little more hollow, a little more broken. Alessandro's attentiveness was clearly taking its toll. But she never said anything specific, never gave me details I could use. We both knew the calls were monitored, our words carefully chosen to avoid consequences. "You're adjusting well," Dante observed one evening in the library. "That worries me." "Worries you? Why?" "Because adjusting means accepting. And you shouldn't accept this, Maya. You should be fighting, planning escape, maintaining your anger." He set down his book. "The fact that you're becoming comfortable concerns me." "What do you want me to do? Throw myself at the guards? Try to climb out barred windows? All that accomplishes is getting me locked in my room with no privileges and Olivia punished." I closed my own book. "I'm being strategic, not accepting." "Strategic how?" I hesitated, unsure if I should trust him. But he'd been nothing but kind, and I needed someone to talk to who wasn't Maria with her carefully neutral observations. "I'm learning," I said carefully. "The guard rotations, the estate layout, where the security gaps might be. I'm being compliant, so I can move freely. See more. Understand the systems keeping me here." Dante's expression shifted to something like respect. "You're smart. Smarter than Alessandro gives you credit for. He thinks I'm just a civilian. Soft, easy to control through threats against Olivia." I leaned forward. "But I've spent 3 years curating art shows in New York. I know how to negotiate, how to read people, how to plan complex logistics. Those skills translate to escape planning, to survival planning. Escape is just one possible outcome." I met his eyes directly. "Tell me honestly, is there any scenario where Alessandro releases me voluntarily?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "No, not while you're useful as leverage against Olivia. And even after, you know too much about the family, about this place. You're a permanent security risk. So my choices are, accept lifetime imprisonment or escape. Those appear to be your only options, yes." He stood, moving to the window. "Maya, if you're planning something, be very careful. Alessandro's security is extensive. One mistake and you'll never get another chance. Why are you telling me this? You should be reporting my plans to him." "Should I?" He turned to face me. "I told you. I don't agree with his methods. Using innocence as leverage, forcing marriages, holding people indefinitely. That's not the family I want to be part of. Then help me. Actively help me escape. I can't, not directly, but..." He pulled a small piece of paper from his pocket, setting it on the table between us. "The East Gate code changes weekly. This is next week's code. And Thursday nights, the guard rotation has a 10-minute gap around 2 a.m. when shifts change." I stared at the paper, not touching it. "Why are you doing this?" "Because my daughter should have been in your position. Because I have a conscience that's been bothering me for weeks. Because maybe I'm tired of being a villain." He moved toward the door. "I was never here. We never had this conversation. And Maya, if you use that information, you'll have one chance. Make it count." He left before I could respond, the paper sitting on the table like a grenade. Help. Real, concrete help from inside the organization. But was it a trap? A test of my loyalty or compliance? I couldn't know for certain. But I palmed the paper and hid it in my room, memorizing the code and the timing. Thursday night, 2 a.m. Eastgate. If I was going to escape, that was my window. But I couldn't leave without Olivia. Over the next few days, I became more observant during my supervised time. The East Gate was visible from the garden. I could see the guard post, the camera angles, the distance I'd need to cover. It was maybe 200 yards from my room's window to that gate. All of it open ground except for some ornamental trees. "You're thinking very hard about those roses," Maria observed during my Wednesday garden time. "Something on your mind?" "Just appreciating the view. I never had a garden in New York. Barely had a window box." I forced a smile. "It's one of the few nice things about being here." "Only a few nice things?" She seemed disappointed. "I hoped you were finding some peace, some acceptance." "How do you accept being a prisoner, Maria? How do you make peace with that?" She was quiet, pruning a rose bush with careful precision. You find what joy you can in small moments. A beautiful garden, a good book, a kind conversation. You survive by not thinking about what you've lost, only what you still have. That sounds like giving up. It sounds like being realistic. She moved to another bush. I've seen many people held by this family over the years, dear. Those who spend all their energy fighting and planning and refusing to accept, they make themselves miserable. But those who find ways to cope, who adapt. She met my eyes. They survive. That's all any of us can do. I thought about her words that night, lying awake in my locked room. Was escape realistic? Or was I clinging to a fantasy that would only make my situation worse if I failed? But then I thought of Olivia's hollow eyes on our video calls, of Alessandro's cold assessment of her as a business asset, of the life I'd had before, my gallery, my apartment, my freedom. I couldn't accept this. Wouldn't become someone who found peace in captivity. Thursday arrived with agonizing slowness. I went through my normal routine, trying not to seem different or suspicious. Library in the afternoon, dinner in my room, the usual evening check-in from Marco to ensure I was secured for the night. Sleep well. Miss Chen, he said as he locked my door at 10 p.m. I waited until midnight, then got dressed in the darkest clothes I had, black leggings and a dark blue sweater. I'd been collecting small items over the weeks, a butter knife from breakfast that I'd sharpened on the stone windowsill, a scarf that could be used as rope, a small flashlight Maria had given me for reading in bed. Not much, but it was something. At 1:55 a.m., I stood at my window, watching the guard posts. Right on schedule, the East Gate guard walked away, heading toward the main building. The replacement hadn't arrived yet. This was it. My chance. The window bars had been my biggest obstacle, but I'd noticed they were bolted into the frame, not welded. 3 weeks of working the bolts loose with my butter knife, a few millimeters each night, had finally paid off. I pushed, and the entire bar assembly came free. The gap was barely wide enough, but I'd lost weight during my captivity, stress killing my appetite. I squeezed through, dropping the 8 feet to the garden below. The impact jarred my ankles, but I rolled with it, staying low in the flower beds. No alarm, no shouts. I'd made it out of the room. Now for the hard part. I ran, keeping to the shadows of the ornamental trees, heading for the East Gate. 200 yards felt like 2 miles, every second expecting to hear guards, alarms, dogs, but I made it. The gate loomed before me, keypad glowing in the darkness. I punched in the code Dante had given me, praying it was real. The lock clicked. The gate opened. Freedom was 10 feet away. Going somewhere, Miss Chen? Alessandro's voice came from behind me, cold and amused. My blood turned to ice. I spun to find him standing 20 feet back, flanked by Marco and 4 other guards. All armed, all between me and any escape route. How did I know? Because Dante told me about your little conversation. Because I've been watching you work those window bolts loose for weeks. Because I wanted to see if you'd actually try to escape. He moved closer, his expression dangerous. Did you really think it would be that easy? That my own cousin would betray me to help a hostage? It was a trap. All of it. The realization hit like a physical blow. You set me up. I gave you rope to hang yourself with. And you took it. He nodded to the guards. Take her to the basement. The real accommodations for prisoners who can't be trusted. No, please. They grabbed me and I fought, but it was useless against 4 large men. Alessandro, I'm sorry, I won't try again. You're right. You won't, because you won't have the opportunity. He pulled out his phone, and I heard it ring on speaker. Yes? Olivia's sleepy voice answered. Hello, wife. I'm calling to inform you that your dear friend Maya just attempted to escape. I'm very disappointed. No, Alessandro, please. Olivia's voice turned to panic. She didn't mean it. She was scared. Please don't hurt her. I'm not going to hurt her. I'm going to hurt you. Tomorrow night. You'll learn what happens when my prisoners misbehave. And Maya will spend the next month in isolation, knowing your suffering is her fault. He ended the call despite Olivia's screaming pleas. You bastard. I tried to lunge at him, but the guards held firm. Take her down. Solitary confinement? No privileges? No contact with anyone except Maria bringing food once a day? He turned to walk away, then paused. Oh, and Maya. Dante sends his regards. He's quite pleased with himself for how convincingly he played the sympathetic cousin. Really had you fooled. They dragged me into the estate, downstairs I'd never seen, to a basement level that was nothing like my comfortable room upstairs. This was a real prison. Concrete floors, bare walls, a single cot, and a bucket in the corner. They threw me inside, slamming the heavy door. A slot at the bottom, presumably for food. A bare bulb in the ceiling, controlled from outside. No windows. No way to tell time except by meals. This was punishment. Real punishment for daring to try to escape. And Olivia would pay the price for my defiance. I sank onto the cot, the rough blanket scratching my skin, and finally understood the full extent of Alessandro's control. He'd let me think I had a chance, let me plan and hope and try, just so he could crush that hope and remind me of my complete powerlessness. Dante hadn't been an ally. He'd been bait in a trap, playing his role perfectly. I'd been so stupid, so desperate to believe someone in this family had a conscience that I'd fallen for the oldest trick in the book, the sympathetic captor who offers help. In the darkness of my cell, with Olivia's screams still echoing in my ears, I realized something important. If I was going to survive this, if I was going to help Olivia, I couldn't trust anyone. Not Maria with her kind words, not Dante with his false sympathy, not even my own hope. I was alone, truly alone, and I just made everything so much worse. I lost track of time in the cell, without windows or a clock. With only the single meal Maria pushed through the slot each day, I couldn't tell if days or weeks were passing. The light stayed on constantly, making sleep difficult. The concrete floor was cold, the cot barely softer than stone. This was designed to break me, and it was working. Maria never spoke during food delivery, just slid the tray through, collected the empty one, and left. I tried calling to her, begging for information about Olivia. Orders, probably. Keep the prisoner isolated, let her suffer in silence. I counted meals to track days. After 23 meals, roughly a week, the door finally opened. Alessandro stood there, immaculate in a suit, looking like he'd just come from a business meeting, while I sat in my own filth with matted hair and clothes I'd worn for days. "Have you learned your lesson?" he asked conversationally. "Where's Olivia? What did you do to her? Answer my question first. Have you learned that escape is impossible? That defiance has consequences." I wanted to spit at him. Wanted to scream that I'd never stop trying, never accept this. But I thought of Olivia, of what she might be suffering because of me. "Yes," I said quietly. "I learned." "Good." He gestured to Marco, who stood behind him. "Take her upstairs. She can have her old room back." Under increased security, of course. They hauled me out of the cell, my legs weak from inactivity. I stumbled, and Marco caught me with surprising gentleness. "Easy. You need food and a shower." "You look like hell." "I've been in hell," I muttered. Back in my original room, I found everything exactly as I'd left it, except the window now had no bars at all, just solid glass that clearly wouldn't open. And a camera had been installed in the corner, its red light blinking steadily. No more privacy. Alessandro said from the doorway, "Someone will be watching you at all times, bathroom included. Any future escape attempts will be detected immediately. You're not even pretending this is hospitality anymore. No need. You've shown your true nature. Someone who'll take advantage of any perceived weakness. So now we treat you like the prisoner you are." He nodded to Maria, who'd appeared with towels and fresh clothes. "Clean up, you smell offensive. Then we'll have a conversation about your future here." After he left, Maria helped me to the shower, staying in the bathroom while I washed, both for the camera requirement and to ensure I didn't collapse. I was weaker than I'd realized, a week of minimal food and no movement taking its toll. "I'm sorry," Maria said quietly as I dried off. "I wanted to speak to you to bring you better food, but Mr. Russo forbade it. Said you needed to understand consequences." "Olivia. Please tell me about Olivia." Maria's expression grew sad. "She's not well. Mr. Russo is quite harsh with her after your escape attempt. I don't know details, but I've heard her crying at night. Seen bruises she tries to hide." My stomach dropped. "He's beating her because of me." He's reminding her of her place, of what happens when his rules are broken. Maria helped me into clean clothes. A simple dress, comfortable but unremarkable. "Mrs. Russo asks about you constantly. Begs to see you. But Mr. Russo refuses until he's satisfied you've both learned your lessons." I sat on the bed, exhaustion and guilt overwhelming me. I made everything worse. I should have just stayed compliant, accepted the situation. Then you wouldn't be you? You'd be broken, like so many others they've held. Maria sat beside me. "Miss Maya, I know it's hard, but your spirit, your refusal to accept injustice, that's keeping Mrs. Russo alive too. Knowing you're fighting gives her hope." "What hope? We're both trapped, and my fighting only gets her hurt. For now. But prisoners who fight sometimes find opportunities. Prisoners who give up never see." She stood. "Rest. Eat the food I'll bring. Regain your strength. You'll need it for whatever comes next." What came next was Alessandro, returning an hour later with Dante in tow. The cousin who'd betrayed me, who'd set the entire trap, looked completely unfazed by my glare of hatred. "Miss Chen, you're looking better. Prison agreed with you." Alessandro sat in the chair by my bed like he was visiting a sick friend, not a hostage he'd tortured. "I wanted to discuss the new terms of your stay." "What new terms? I'm your prisoner." "What more is there to discuss?" "Quite a bit, actually. Your escape attempt revealed several security weaknesses we've now addressed. But it also revealed something about you. You're resourceful, intelligent, and more dangerous than I initially assessed." He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo. This is the butter knife you sharpened on your windowsill. Primitive but effective. Took dedication and patience to make it a viable tool. Get to the point. The point is you're not the soft civilian I thought you were. You're a threat, which means I need to decide whether you're worth keeping alive or if eliminating you would be simpler. He set down his phone. Dante has been arguing for your life. Would you like to hear his reasoning? I don't care what he has to say. I refuse to look at Dante. He's a liar who set me up. Actually, I set you up. Alessandro corrected. Dante just played the role I assigned him. He's quite good at manipulation, one of his many talents. Then why is he arguing to keep me alive? What's his angle? Dante spoke for the first time, his voice quiet. Because killing you would destroy Olivia completely. She's barely holding on as it is. If she loses you, if she knows Alessandro murdered her best friend, she'll break entirely. And a broken wife is useless for the heirs Alessandro needs her to produce. How pragmatic. So I live because my death would be inconvenient. You live because there's value in keeping you alive, Alessandro said, but that value has conditions. New rules that are non-negotiable. I'm listening. Firsty. No more escape attempts, ever. The next time you try, I won't punish Olivia. I'll kill her. Do you understand? One more escape attempt and your best friend dies. The words hit like a physical blow. You wouldn't. Test me and find out. His expression was dead serious. I can always find another wife, another woman to produce heirs. Olivia is replaceable. But the lesson her death would send. That defiance leads to permanent consequences. That's valuable. You're insane. I'm practical. Second rule, you'll begin working for the family. Your art expertise is wasted sitting in a room. We have extensive collections that need cataloging, potentially valuable pieces that need authentication. You'll work, and you'll do it well. You want me to help you with your stolen art collection, among other things. Dante will supervise your work. Consider it a test of trustworthiness. He stood. Third rule, your calls with Olivia are suspended until I see consistent cooperation and good behavior. Could be weeks, could be months. That's entirely up to you. You can't keep me from her. I can do whatever I want. You're my prisoner. Remember. Be grateful I'm offering you work and the possibility of earning privileges back instead of leaving you in that cell permanently. He moved toward the door. Dante will collect you tomorrow morning to begin your work. I suggest you approach it with a positive attitude. After Alessandro left, I was alone with Dante. I turned my back on him, staring at the wall. I know you hate me, he said. You have every right to. Get out. Maya. I said get out. I spun to face him, anger overpowering exhaustion. You made me trust you. You pretended to care, to feel guilty, to want to help. And it was all manipulation to set up Alessandro's trap. So forgive me if I don't want to hear whatever justification you've prepared. It wasn't all manipulation. He took a step closer. The books I brought, the conversations we had, those were real. My respect for your intelligence. My guilt about your situation, that was genuine. Just not genuine enough to actually help me. I couldn't. Alessandro is my cousin, the boss's heir. Betraying him would mean war within the family. Would put my daughter at risk. His expression was conflicted. I chose family over you. I'm not proud of it, but I'd make the same choice again. Then we have nothing more to discuss. I turned back to the wall. Leave me alone. Dante, you've done enough damage. He was quiet for a long moment, then, for what it's worth, I argued against the basement cell. Told Alessandro it was excessive. He overruled me. How noble. You disagreed with torture but didn't stop it. Real hero material. I never claimed to be a hero, Maya. I'm a criminal who occasionally tries to minimize harm. That's the best I can offer. He moved to the door. I'll collect you at 9 tomorrow. We'll start with the art authentication work. Try to see it as an opportunity. More freedom, more movement, more chance to see areas of the estate you haven't accessed before. More chance for you to watch me and report back to Alessandro. Yes, that too. At least he was honest about it. But also a chance for you to use your actual skills, to do work you're good at. That's not nothing, Maya. In captivity, small dignities matter. After he left, I lay on my bed and stared at the camera's blinking light, knowing someone was watching my every move. No privacy, no freedom, no hope of escape without getting Olivia killed. This was my life now. And I had to find a way to survive it without losing myself completely. The next morning, Dante arrived exactly at 9, accompanied by Marco. Ready to work? Do I have a choice? No, but you can choose your attitude about it. He led me through corridors I'd never seen, deeper into the estate's sprawling complex. We ended up in what looked like a private museum, climate-controlled rooms filled with paintings, sculptures, antiquities displayed with professional care. This is the Russo collection. 3 generations of acquiring art, some legitimately purchased, some, he paused diplomatically. Acquired through other means, it needs proper cataloging, authentication, and appraisal. That's where you come in. I stared at the collection, my art historian brain automatically assessing what I saw. Renaissance paintings, Baroque sculptures, even what looked like an original Monet. It was a fortune in art, probably worth hundreds of millions. You stole all this. Some was purchased from thieves. Some was legitimately acquired at auction. He handed me a tablet. I need you to catalog everything. Artist provenance as far as you can determine. Authentication of pieces where there's doubt. Think you can do that? I could. God help me, I wanted to. These were masterpieces, and despite being held by criminals, they deserved proper documentation and care. I'll need access to databases, authentication tools, reference materials. Already set up. There's an office through there with everything you'll need. Internet access is monitored, obviously. Any attempt to send messages or contact the outside world gets reported immediately. He gestured to the door. Marco will be stationed outside. Regular breaks, lunch brought to you. Treat this like a real job, because that's what it is. I moved into the office, spacious, well-lit, equipped with everything a professional art curator would need. If I ignored the locked door and guard outside, it could have been a dream job. Except I was still a prisoner, still being used, still trapped. But at least I was doing something I loved, using skills I'd spent years developing. Small dignity, like Dante said. I started with the paintings, documenting each piece, photographing it from multiple angles, researching its history. Hours passed without me noticing, lost in the work, my mind focused on art instead of captivity. Around noon, Maria brought lunch, and I realized I'd been working for 3 straight hours without even thinking about escape or Olivia or my situation. "You look happy," Maria observed. "More alive than I've seen you." "I'm doing what I love, what I'm good at." I gestured to the collection. Even under these circumstances, being surrounded by art like this, it's hard not to appreciate it. "That's good. Russo will be pleased you're taking the work seriously." She set down the lunch tray. "And between you and me, Miss Maya, the more valuable you are to the family, the safer you become. Prisoners are expendable. Employees are assets." After she left, I thought about her words while eating. Was that my path to survival? Making myself indispensable through my expertise. If I became valuable enough, would they eventually trust me with more freedom? It was an escape, but it was a step above being a hostage. I'd failed at fighting, failed at escape. Maybe it was time to try a different strategy, become so useful they couldn't afford to lose me. It wasn't freedom, but it was survival. And for now, that would have to be enough. 3 months passed in a strange new routine. Days spent cataloging the Russo art collection, evenings in my room under camera surveillance, weekly supervised calls with Olivia that showed her slowly becoming a shell of the person she'd been. I tried not to think about it too much, tried to focus on the work that gave me purpose. The collection was extraordinary. I'd authenticated 2 previously unknown Tintorettos, identified a sculpture that had been missing from an Italian museum since World War II, and determined that what the Russos thought was a minor Rembrandt was actually a masterwork by one of his best students. Still valuable, but requiring provenance correction. Dani supervised my work closely, often sitting in the office while I researched, asking intelligent questions about technique and historical context. Our conversations were carefully professional now, both of us avoiding any personal topics after the trust he'd destroyed. But I noticed things. The way he'd argue with Alessandro about giving me more freedom. How he'd bring me art books I'd mentioned wanting to reference. Small acts that suggested his guilt wasn't entirely manufactured. "This one's interesting," I said one afternoon, examining a dark Renaissance painting of a martyred saint. "The composition is brilliant, but something's wrong with the aging pattern of the varnish." Dante moved to look over my shoulder. Meaning this might be a very good forgery, maybe from the 1800s. I pulled up reference materials on the tablet. "See how the craquelure, the fine cracks in the paint, follows too regular a pattern. Natural aging is more random. This was artificially aged to look period appropriate. How much would it be worth as a forgery? Still considerable if it's 19th century. Historical forgeries have their own value as examples of period technique. I made notes on the documentation, but nowhere near what you'd get if it were authentic Renaissance. Someone in your family got conned, probably paid millions for a well-executed fake. Alessandro won't be happy about that. The truth rarely makes people happy, but it's still the truth." I saved my findings. "That's part of why you wanted an actual expert doing this, right? So you'd know what you really have instead of operating on assumptions and forged provenances." "Among other reasons." He moved to the window. "Maya, I need to tell you something. About Olivia." My heart clenched. "What about her? Is she okay?" "She's pregnant. Alessandro confirmed it yesterday. She's due in 6 months. The world tilted. Olivia pregnant with her captor's child. Tied to him permanently now, not just by forced marriage but by a baby. "Does she want it?" I asked quietly. "Did he give her a choice? What do you think?" His expression was grim. Alessandro wanted heirs. Now he's getting one. Whether Olivia wants to be a mother under these circumstances is irrelevant to him. This is horrible. She's trapped forever now. Yes, but it also means she's more valuable to him. He'll protect her more carefully, ensure she has the best medical care, reduce her stress levels. Dante turned to face me, and he's agreed to let you see her. In person, not just video calls. Hope flared, painful and desperate. "When?" "This weekend. She'll visit the estate, spend a few hours here. Supervised, obviously. But you'll be able to talk to her properly, see how she really is." His dark eyes held sympathy. "I thought you'd want to know. To prepare yourself." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate for information this important. "Dante, why are you telling me this? Why not let it be a surprise?" "Because I remember what it's like to care about someone completely. To be desperate for any information about them." Something vulnerable crossed his face. "When Gabriella was little and her mother and I divorced, I'd wait for any scrap of news about her. You protected Gabriella by betraying me. By helping Alessandro trap me. I know, and I'll carry that guilt forever." He moved toward the door. "But maybe I can make small amends. By giving you information when I can. By arguing for privileges you've earned. By being honest about what's happening even when the truth is painful." After he left, I sat alone with the weight of Olivia's pregnancy. My best friend, carrying the child of a man who'd forced her into marriage, who beat her when she disobeyed, who kept me prisoner to control her. That baby would be born into this world of violence and crime, raised by the Russo family, taught their twisted values. Unless we could escape, unless there was still a way out. But I'd tried that once and it had only made everything worse. Now Olivia was pregnant, more vulnerable than ever. Any escape attempt that put her, the baby, at risk was unconscionable. I was trapped by my love for her, by the knowledge that my actions directly affected her suffering, and Alessandro knew it, used it. weaponized it against both of us with surgical precision. Saturday arrived with agonizing slowness. Maria helped me dress in something nice, a soft blue dress that Alessandro had apparently purchased for the occasion. You'll want to look well for Mrs. Russo. Show her you're being treated appropriately. So she doesn't worry, you mean? So she stays compliant. Yes, dear, exactly that. Maria's expression was sympathetic. I know it's hard, but Mrs. Russo loves you. Seeing you healthy and safe will give her peace, even if the circumstances are terrible. They brought me to a sitting room I'd never been in. Elegant, comfortable, with large windows overlooking the gardens. Alessandro was already there, looking relaxed in casual clothes, a glass of wine in hand. Miss Chen, thank you for joining us, as if I'd had a choice. Olivia should arrive shortly. A few ground rules for your visit. Of course there are rules. You'll sit here. He gestured to a chair positioned across from the sofa. Olivia will sit on the sofa beside me. You may talk freely about general topics, the pregnancy, your work, memories you share. But no discussion of escape plans, no attempting to pass her messages or coded information. Understood. Marco will be present throughout. If he determines the conversation is becoming inappropriate, he'll end the visit immediately. Alessandro sipped his wine. This is a privilege, Maya. Don't make me regret granting it. A few minutes later, the door opened and there she was. Olivia looked both better and worse than I'd expected. Better physically. Her skin glowed with that pregnancy radiance. Her hair was professionally styled, her dress was expensive and flattering. But her eyes were dead, empty in a way that terrified me. Maya. She moved toward me, and Alessandro let her cross the room to hug me fiercely. Oh God. Maya, are you okay? They said you were working, that you were being treated well, but I didn't know if I could believe them. I'm fine, Liv, promise. Look at me. I pulled back so she could see my face, my healthy appearance. I'm doing artwork, cataloging a collection. It's actually interesting, keeps me busy. They said you tried to escape, that you were punished. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, this is all my fault. If I'd told you the truth about Alessandro before the wedding. Don't, this isn't on you. I glanced at Alessandro, who was watching us with cold assessment. Come sit. Tell me about the baby. How we moved to sit. Her on the sofa beside her husband, me in the designated chair, Marco standing by the door like a prison guard. Because that's what he was. Morning sickness is awful. But the doctor says the baby's healthy, growing right on schedule. Her hand moved unconsciously to her still flat stomach. It's a girl. They did a blood test. A girl, that's wonderful. I forced enthusiasm I didn't feel. Have you picked names? Alessandro chose Isabella after his grandmother. The way she said it, flat emotionless, told me she'd had no input in the decision. I suggested maybe Grace for a middle name, and he allowed it. Allowed as if naming her own daughter required permission. Isabella Grace is beautiful. I wanted to reach across and take her hand, but the distance between us felt intentional. Liv, are you really okay? I'm as okay as I can be. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the message she couldn't speak aloud. I'm surviving, but barely. The pregnancy is forcing Alessandro to be more careful. He needs me healthy for the baby. Translation, he's not beating her as much now that she's pregnant. Small mercy in an ocean of horror. We talked for an hour about surface things, her prenatal care, my work with the art collection, memories of our college days that felt like they'd happened to different people. Alessandro sat silently beside her, his hand possessively resting on her thigh, a constant reminder of his ownership. Time's up. Olivia needs her rest and I have business to attend to. Wait, I stood too? Can we do this again? Please, seeing each other even like this, it helps. That depends on continued good behavior from both of you. He pulled Olivia to her feet. If Maya keeps producing good work, if you continue being an obedient wife, we can arrange monthly visits. Would you like that? Yes, Olivia's voice was desperate. Please, Alessandro, I need to see her. It's the only thing that makes this bearable. Then be good, and you'll have your reward. He guided her toward the door, pausing to look back at me. Same for you, Miss Chen. Excellent work earns privileges. Defiance loses them, simple equation. After they left, I stood in the empty sitting room, the ghost of Olivia's hollow expression haunting me. She was breaking, slowly inexorably her spirit was being crushed by forced marriage, pregnancy, and captivity disguised as matrimony. And I was powerless to help her. Dant appeared in the doorway. How was the visit? Horrible. She's a shell. The Olivia I knew is dying and there's nothing I can do. I sank back into the chair. That baby will be born into this family, raised by Alessandro, taught that this is normal. Yes, that's how it works. The cycle continues. He moved to sit across from me. Maya, I need to ask you something. And I need you to really consider it. What? What if I could get you out? Not Olivia. Alessandro would never let her go. Especially now that she's pregnant. But you. What if I could arrange for you to escape, to disappear, to start over somewhere the Russos couldn't find you? I stared at him. Why would you do that? Because you're not supposed to be here. Because using you as leverage is wrong. Because I have a daughter, and if she were in your position, I'd want someone to help her escape. His expression was sincere. I can't save Olivia, but I might be able to save you. And leave Olivia here alone, knowing I abandoned her. She'd want you free, Maya. You know she would. She'd rather you escape than stay imprisoned on her behalf. He leaned forward. Think about it, really think. A new identity, new life, freedom from all of this. I have resources outside the family. I could make it happen. It was tempting. God, it was so tempting. To be free, to reclaim my life, to escape this nightmare. But I thought of Olivia's face, of her desperate need to see me monthly, of how my presence might be the only thing keeping her from complete despair. I can't, I said finally. I can't leave her alone here. Even if staying means I'm a prisoner forever. I can't abandon her. That's what I thought you'd say. Dante smiled slightly. You're a good person, Maya. Too good for our world. But that's also what makes you special. Special. I'm a hostage with Stockholm Syndrome who's accepted her captivity. No, you're someone who chooses loyalty over freedom. Love over self-preservation. That's rare. Valuable. He stood. And for what it's worth, I'll keep arguing for your freedom. Keep pushing Alessandro to give you more privileges. Keep trying to make this bearable until the day comes when circumstances change. What circumstances? Olivia will be tied to him forever through that baby. I'll be her leverage forever. Nothing's gonna change. Thing change. People die. Organizations fall. Power shifts. His expression was unreadable. Be patient. Stay alive, and when the opportunity comes, and it will come, be ready to take it. He left before I could ask what he meant, leaving me alone with confusion and the faintest spark of hope. 6 months later, Olivia gave birth to Isabella Grace Russo. I wasn't allowed to visit, but Alessandro sent me photos. My best friend holding a tiny baby, her expression a complex mix of love and despair. She loved her daughter, but she hated the circumstances that brought her into the world. The monthly visits continued. Olivia and I would sit in that same room, now with baby Isabella between us, and pretend everything was fine. We'd cue over the baby, discuss motherhood, carefully avoid mentioning that she was raising a child in a prison, married to a monster with no escape possible. A year passed. Then too, my catalog of the Russo art collection was complete, comprehensive, and so valuable that other crime families started requesting my expertise. I became the mob's art expert, traveling under heavy guard to authenticate pieces for Alessandro's allies. It was a strange life, prisoner with privileges. Captive with expertise, hostage who'd made herself indispensable. I told myself I was surviving. But I knew I'd lost something essential by accepting this existence. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon 3 years after that wedding, everything changed. Alessandro was killed in a territorial dispute with a rival family. Shot 6 times, died instantly, no time to arrange succession. The Russo family plunged into chaos, power struggles erupting between factions. Dante became acting head during the transition, his first order of business releasing me. You're free, he said. Standing in my room, my former prisoner, truly free. Olivia too if she wants. The forced marriage dies with Alessandro. Just like that? Just like that. I'm in charge now, and I won't perpetuate my cousin's cruelties. He handed identity documents, bank account with substantial funds, contacts for relocation assistance. Go, Maya. Build the life you should have had. What about Olivia? That's her choice. She can leave, take Isabella, start over. Or she can stay. This is Isabella's inheritance after all. I've already talked to her. She's thinking about it. I found Olivia in the nursery holding 3-year-old Isabella, staring out the window. When she saw me, she started crying. I can leave. I said. Both of us start over? I know. Dante told me. She looked down at her daughter. But Maya, this is Isabella's home. Her inheritance. If we leave, she loses everything. And Alessandro's family, for all their faults, they love her. She has grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. A whole life here. You'd stay after everything he did to you. For my daughter, yes. I'll stay and raise her here, teach her to be better than her father was. She met my eyes. But you should go. You never chose this. You don't have to stay. If you stay, I stay. Maya, no. You're my sister. Isabella is my niece. If you're raising her here, I'm here too. Someone needs to make sure she grows up knowing there's a world beyond the mob. I took her hand. We survived this far together. We'll keep surviving together. She hugged me fiercely, both of us crying. Isabella confused but hugging us both anyway. Dante stood in the doorway watching. You're both staying, we're both staying, I confirmed. But as free women. With real choices, no more prisoners, agreed. He smiled. Welcome to the family, Maya. Officially this time, I became Olivia's partner in raising Isabella, the beloved aunt who taught art and history in the world beyond crime. Dante kept his word. We were free, even while choosing to stay connected to the family. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was ours, built from captivity, forged in survival, sustained by love stronger than any prison. I'd been kidnapped from a wedding as the wrong woman, but somehow impossibly I'd become exactly where I belonged.